work here tonight to help us improve the program as we leap into the fall. So again, just a reminder to check in, use the QR code on the screen to check in. And if that's not working for you, the link is in the chat, and as well as the post-session survey. The weekly reflections questionnaire has been sent out today, so please check your emails for that. And we also want to remind you that, listen, I see some of you here from week to week engaging really well. Tell your friends, send information to your friends and your classmates. And organizations, share with organizations that you're a member of and post it on social media as well. Ms. Jones will be posting the information that we have created for you to share with your friends inside of your organizations as well as on your social media platform. I also want to mention that we will have a special session on Thursday, and these special sessions is a result of some of the feedback that we've received from you all. And so the first one will be on Thursday, June 26th at 7 p.m. Central, and that will be on business and dining etiquette. Y'all don't want to miss that. So again, June 26th, that's this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time, in case you are somewhere else doing your internship. So let's go ahead and get started. Before the presenter come on, put your name, your major, your company name, and your work location in the chat. Come on, let's chat it up. Let's show and tell where we are in the world and in your internship, most importantly. And I will now turn this over to Dr. Danielle Fegans.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. George. Okay, so this is week 4. I am excited, and so should you be excited as well. We are going to talk about workplace decorum, but please make sure you sign in. So I know some of you guys are still, logging in, and go ahead and click the link or either scan the QR code so that way you can get credit for today's session. All right, so we're going to talk about mastering workplace decorum. So go ahead and type in the chat for me. First of all, if you've ever heard of the word decorum, and if you know the meaning of that word, or you can take yourself off of mute. And if you want to, just kind of share among the group, if you've ever heard of the term or what it means, you're welcome to do that. So I'm not able to see the chat. So Miss George, if you can see the chat and tell me what they're saying, or again, if you want to come off of mute, you're welcome to do that. And let's just kind of open up the floor there and just share. Have you ever heard of the word decorum? And if so, do you know what the word means?
Yes, I've heard of the word decorum before. I'm pretty sure it means like having manners or being respectful.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
About 3:36.
I didn't hear you.
Oh.
That what slowed me down was that.
I've heard of the word decorum. I've always interpreted it as like there's a place and a time, and to make sure you are presentable, and just, I guess, keeping yourself in check.
All right. Okay.
Something
Are there any comments in the chat?
Yes. Someone said having appropriate behavior. Someone else says, yes, relates to behavior in different environments.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. And yes, yes, and yes, you all are correct. All right. So before we dive in, just some housekeeping rules. Again, I would love to see your lovely faces. So if you can, you're welcome to turn your cameras on. Feel free to ask a question. That is why we are here. So any question you have, just raise your virtual hand and that way we will address you. Also, let's participate. That's what we're trying to do. We want this to be engaging and interactive as much as possible. So we would love for you to participate, because guess what? We're all learning together. Okay, so I know some of you may know me by now. Some of you're probably just now joining. This is probably your first week or your second week. And so just to share a little bit about me, I am a proud Prairie View alum, class of 2001 and 2002 as well, with my bachelor's and my master's. And I continued my education at University of Phoenix, receiving a doctorate in management. As far as my professional work experience, I have worked in the private sector, the public sector as well, various industries that I've worked for. Outside of that, I am an entrepreneur, author, life coach, speaker as well. And I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, as well as Society for Human Resource Management, among other organizations I'm involved in. So here are your coaches. And I know you like, why are they showing this slide every week? Because we want you to know who your coaches are. We want you to connect with us. So if you see your major on there, or even if you've already graduated, hey, your coach will remain the same. Whatever your major was, whatever the degree that you have, that is your coach. If you do not see your major on there, all other majors, you are welcome to contact Ms. Jones, and we are here to assist you. Now, let's talk about being an elite Panther professional. I know I kind of incorporated this on my second week, and so I'm also doing the same thing, because guess what? You are the elite. And so what does that mean? It means that you are a select group of people, and you are superior in terms of your abilities and your qualities to the rest of the group, or society. You are the most successful and powerful group of people. Yes, you're from Prairie View A&M, of course you. And you are actively working towards enhancing your both college experience at Prairie View, as well as your future employability. So at Prairie View, you are an elite Panther. You are the Panther professional. So now let's talk about etiquette versus decorum. We kind of hear those words interchangeably. And so when we talk about etiquette, we're talking more so of a formal situation and rules of behavior. So an example would be like following the rules of table manners, right? I'm sure you've all heard like elbows off the table, sit up straight, right? So that's kind of like some rules there on how to conduct yourself at a formal event. Decorum, on the other hand, is the appropriate conduct, good taste, respect in any type of setting. So an example would be to maintaining a calm and collected attitude in a tense situation, dressing appropriately for a workplace, or speaking respectfully to others. So what is workplace decorum? Workplace decorum, it encompasses the courteous and respectful behavior expected in a professional environment. The reason why I have that word expected is because you are expected to maintain a certain way in the workplace. That doesn't mean just come to work when you feel like it, or wear what you want to wear and things of that nature. No, you are expected how to behave in a professional work environment. So here are some key areas when we talk about workplace decorum. We talk about respectful communication. I kind of tapped on that in week 2 when we talked about effective communication. So this means being mindful of your body language, avoid gossiping and engaging, and to engage in effective communication. An example would be to be cordial. When you walk into a room, say hello, good morning. This will ease the tension as you walk into a room. Be respectful and mindful of other people. And even if people don't respond back to you after you say good morning, do not allow their actions to offend you, right? Also, avoid conversations regarding salary, politics, as well as religion. These are topics you should not discuss in the workplace at no point in time. Even so much as going on right now on the news that we're hearing, do not discuss any form of politics. The second one, punctuality and time management. I know that was a topic that Ms. Jones covered on last week with time management. But when I talk about that, it's all about arriving on time to work, being respectful of other people's time. One thing that I would highly suggest as you're starting your internships and your jobs as a new hire, to make sure you always get your manager's contact number and an email address. Why do I say that? Because you may be running late. You may have a family emergency. You need to let them know. If you don't have their information, how are they supposed to know what's going on with you? So it's really good to have that information. And if you need to contact with them, try to do it before your reporting time. If you can, you don't want to be sick and then you're supposed to report to work at 8, but you didn't notify the manager until 10, 11, or 12 o'clock. They're like, okay, what's going on? So try as best as you can to let them know ahead of time. Also, with effective communication, you want to make sure that you ask questions verbally or written communication to address your concerns. So that's very important. Number 3, appropriate attire. Make sure you follow the company's dress code and maintain a professional appearance. Make sure you adhere to the dress code due to the nature of business. You know, sometimes depending on where you work, you may have a different work attire. And if they have what's called casual Fridays, meaning that you can wear blue jeans, make sure you do not wear ripped blue jeans. Okay. We don't want to see any body parts or anything. We want you to maintain that professionalism. So if you wear jeans, make sure, you know, they're not ripped. And so you're wearing a nice top, ladies, with it. You don't want to show anything, you know. And so you just want to make sure that it's overall just a professional attire. And I know we'll tap on that subject later on in a few weeks about how to dress professionally. Number 4, maintaining a clean and organized workspace. Please make sure your desk and your surroundings are neat and tidy. You don't want a junky work area because that doesn't look good. Number 5, respect for personal space. Avoid intruding on colleagues' personal space and invading their privacy. This is very important. We work with people from different backgrounds. You want to make sure that that they are respecting your personal boundaries. So, for an example, if someone say you have something in your hair and they trying to reach for it at the same time, that's invading your personal space. So for me, I'm like, look, let me know if there's something in my hair or if I have a piece of lint on my clothes. Don't just grab it for me. You let me know because I don't like people invading in my personal space. So we have to be mindful of that when we work with other people. Number 6, avoiding distractions. Be mindful of noise levels, especially in shared places. I know a lot of you may be working in cubicles or you may work in an office where it's just a big table in there, you know, like a large conference table, and that's your shared workspace. Make sure that you are respectful of your colleagues, your coworkers, and that you're not having those loud conversations with other people. Number 7, avoid annoying habits. Be mindful of habits that might annoy others, such as gum chewing. You know, sometimes people that chew gum, they like to pop the gum, right? It's so good to them, right? And they're just popping away. And you're like, oh my God, it's really irritating me, that popping noise. So be mindful of that, as well as strong perfume or strong cologne. You know, some people may really suffer with allergies. So again, you want to be mindful of that. And also practice good hygiene. You want to make sure that you maintain a clean and well-groomed appearance. So why does this matter? Because number 1, it builds stronger relationships. Being polite and respectful of others, it fosters positive relationships with clients as well as colleagues. Number 2, it improves collaboration. When people feel respected and valued, they're more likely to collaborate effectively. It also enhances professional reputation. So, displaying good decorum can help you build a positive reputation and make a good impression on others. Number 4, it creates a positive work environment. So, a workplace with good decorum is more likely to be pleasant and a productive place to work. And creating a positive work environment, it starts with you. And I'm going to say that again, creating a positive work environment, it starts with you. I'll give you all an example. So I know there was one place that I worked for, and it was actually a place where it really we provided services to the public, right, helping them find employment. And so when I first started there, I kind of noticed how some of the coworkers dressed. They really didn't care how they looked coming to work. It looked as if they literally rolled out of bed and just came to work. I mean, clothes were wrinkled. I mean, it was horrible. And so it was one coworker, she would hot curl her hair in the office. She would literally every day use hot curlers to curl her hair. And so how did I know? Everybody had their own office. I knew because of the smell of the curling irons. They were like burnt. They need to be thrown away. And so I'm like, oh my goodness. And so here I am starting new, coming in professional, had that sense of decorum. And so within the next few weeks to a month, my manager tells me, she said, you know what, you're making some changes around here, because they slowly started to change how they look, how they was coming to work, because some of them was late, they would show up on time. And so again, it starts with you when you create that positive work environment. Last but not least, it reduces conflict. So being mindful of others and respecting their boundaries, it can help you prevent conflict. All right, so let's see.
Yeah, a question if you're ready for a question, or you want to go to.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
The question was, how do you respect people who don't respect you? And that was from Audrey.
Ooh, how do you respect people that don't respect you? Well, first, you should always respect people, even if they don't respect you. I know that could be challenging at times depending on the particular situation. Now, as long as they're not being disrespectful to you or saying something to you that can be offensive, or anything that could be racist or anything like that. But I would say it's just good to be respectful to people. I don't know if any coaches will want to chime in on that, or Audrey, if you could provide more information. You want to take yourself off of mute to provide more information?
Hey, Audrey, are you there?
I just wanted to add, one of the most important things that we always need to remember is we can really only control our actions and our conversations. For me, I worked in customer service for probably most of my life, and that's from airport reservations to retail as a manager at Sam's. And respect can be very difficult, especially when people seem to think that they're better than you. So one of the things that I would always do is I would keep my demeanor, keep my decorum. I would, talk to them in a manner of that I wanted to be spoken with. If they invaded my space, if they got too loud, if they got, they went over the top with me, and I get very, very low. Right now, you're invading my space, and I'm gonna need you to step back. We can be civil and have this conversation, or we cannot have a conversation. It's up to you. And then I remove myself from the situation if they don't want to have that civil conversation. But it's not. I mean, all you can really do is just really own who you are, stand on stand on who you are, stand on business. But don't stoop to their level. Don't get in a shouting match. Don't get in an exchange of verbal war or words with them. Just look, I want to have a civil conversation with you. However, if this is not a moment where you can have that, we can reconnect at a later time. I'm going to go ahead and, and move on, and then move on. So
And I will add to that, I totally 100% agree with Miss Jones. And as she was talking, what I thought about, I want to say what she said, and that was, we only have control of our actions. So we focus on what we control, right? So one thing I heard when it came to that, statement is, it's not about the stimulus, it's about the maturity of the response. And that is something that I've actually kept in the back of my mind. Like, I learned that as an adult, y'all, and it has made me really reflect on what areas I need to grow, or even be aware of, okay, listen, I'm not there yet. So what do I need to do to take myself out of situations, um, or how do I show up in a professional way, right? In the workplace, even when I feel like I'm being disrespected, right? And so that always come to mind. It's not about the stimulus, it's about the maturity of the response. And so focus on what you can control and not what you can't.
All right. Well, I hope that answers her question. Any other questions before we move on? All right. Okay. So I want to talk about the top 4 behaviors for bad office decorum. So as you can see, this is the top 4. And what's the first one? Gossiping. People love to gossip. And so in some workplaces, it's going to be worse than others. But I mean, people are people, right? So gossiping, do not get involved in gossiping. Spreading rumors or talking negative about another colleague, it can create a toxic atmosphere and it can damage relationships. But keep in mind, those people who gossip, who like to, gossip to you about other people, or most likely will gossip about you. So don't even get involved in it. Number 2, using inappropriate language. Using offensive language, whether based on gender, race, or other characteristics, it can create a hostile work environment and it can also lead to some legal issues as well. Number 4, unresponsive to messages. Failing to respond promptly to emails or other messages can be perceived as unprofessional and it can hinder communication and collaboration. Last but not least, constantly being late to meetings. Arriving late to meetings can show disrespect for others' time and it can disrupt the flow of discussion. Ethical behavior. Now, ethical behavior in the workplace, it encompasses principles and values that guide individuals and organizations in their conduct and decision making. So it includes honesty, respect, responsibility, and integrity, fostering a positive and trustworthy work environment. And so integrity is all about doing what is right, even when no one is watching. So ethical behavior, it extends beyond legal requirements. It emphasizes a commitment to doing what is right and upholding societal norms. And so I want you all to remember this. If you see someone that's getting away with something that you know is unethical, that does not mean that you will get away with it. So don't do it. You do the right thing at all times. And so I want to talk about engagement. So there's a lot of times where your company may have some offsite engagement, like for team building, for an example, as well as holiday parties and things of that nature. How do you conduct yourself in those times? And so I just want to say, in regards to that, just remember you're still at work. So even if alcohol is being served, and especially at holiday parties, I can recall a time where, first of all, I never went to the holiday parties when I was in corporate America because they would have them all the time every year. I never did go. But best believe I would hear about it. I would hear who was overserved, meaning who, had a little too much, and their behavior and how they act. And so, guess what? People remember that. And so, managers are there, directors are there, shareholders are at these holiday parties. So, please remember how to conduct yourself. I don't care if they say, oh, it's what's the term they use when it's open bar. It's open bar. And so some people like, ooh, open bar. I'm gonna turn up. Okay, you turn up if you want to, but you know what? You didn't turn down your promotion. You didn't turn down a lot of things for yourself, because if you act like that at a holiday party, guess what? Do you really think your manager or director is going to refer you over to go, maybe to travel to represent the country in another city or state, or even out the country? They're gonna be like, no, because he or she, they don't know how to handle themselves. So again, remember, you're still at work. And so even outside of holiday parties, even if it's a company picnic or whatever, remember you are still at work. Even if it's not alcohol being served, but you still must know how to conduct yourself. You don't want to get wild and loose or anything like that, because people talk and people do remember.
Hey, Dr. Fegans, I have a couple
Mhm.
questions in the chat.
Okay.
The first question is, how do you want them, one by one?
You
Because you
can.
have about three. Okay, the first question is, are you required to go to those events?
Good question. You're not required to go. It's not, and well, I would say it like this. It all depends on your company. They really can't make you go technically. They would like for you to go, so you gotta know how to play the game sometimes. I know there were times where when in corporate America, it really wasn't a good work environment per se, and I hated to go to those. But I went, I showed up just so they could say that I'm there, because I don't want them saying, "Oh, she don't engage with nobody." So you want to show up and engage. You want to be cordial, because that was a. I remember one in particular where the company had rented out maybe like a bowling alley from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And so they pretty much paid for everything. The only thing you had to pay for was like your alcohol if you was drinking alcohol. That's the only thing you was responsible for. So I showed up, I played a game or two, and then I left early, because you could leave early in that sense. But I mean, they can't make you go. It's something that they suggest. It's not mandatory. So if you don't feel comfortable in going, you can always say you don't feel comfortable in going. You don't have to go into details, or if you have something else to do, you just say, "Hey, I have another engagement. I really hate I can't show up." But, try to show up if you can. Again, just be cordial, because I understand there's going to be sometimes you may not be in a pleasant work environment, and you're like, "This kind of sucks. I don't want to be around these people." I get it. I've been there. But I would say, again, try to be respectful, be cordial to people, and like I said, go if you can. Anybody else? That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Would anybody else?
I want to add to that. Yes, don't go. A lot of times these events are not required. Don't go if you are not comfortable. But I want to offer another something else that I've actually learned later in my career, and that is a lot of times these events are also ways to see, like I think Dr. Fegans just mentioned it, whether or not you are able to build relationships, you're friendly, friendly meaning what they really mean, able to build relationships. If you're always the one that stays to yourself, then that could hinder your advancement too. So, and I'll give you an example. One of the things I've learned later in my career is that when it comes to performance evaluation, a lot of times, and actually research have shown this, we as Black and Brown folks, we tend to be evaluated on technical things, right? Technical aspect of your job is what you're able to do, what you're trained to do as a job, what they hired you for. But what really gets you promoted and what we're not evaluated on is our ability to build relationships in the workplace and maintain those. So collaboration, partnering, right? Cross-functional aspects of your work and really collaborating on projects. And those are areas that we are not evaluated on, but those are also areas that get you promoted. And so I will say use wisdom and discernment when it comes to these events, right? Getting to know people, and understanding who's who, but as it relates to your work, right? And then, because then that way the relationship building becomes even more meaningful. And that's what I'll add to that.
All right.
Oh,
So
you have another question.
So I was gonna say, let's hold off on those
Okay.
last two questions.
Okay.
I promise you we'll answer them. We're almost done. I just want to make sure that I get through some things, because we have something fun for you all. Okay.
Yep.
So last slide before we go to the fun event. Representation matters, okay? It's your present and your future. This matters because you represent yourself, you represent your family, you represent Prairie View A&M University, and beyond. So your internship does not just affect your future, but it can also influence opportunities for other students at Prairie View. The way you represent yourself and the university can either open doors for those who come after you or close them. So I like the line that Nene Leak says on Housewives of Atlanta. She said, the door is closed. Well, no, the door ain't gonna be closed on y'all. Okay, the doors are gonna be open because you're gonna go in and you are the elite professional and you're showing that workplace decorum. And so we want employers to say, you know what, we want to hire more students from Prairie View. Again, representation matters. Also, employers often base future internships based on the performance and professionalism of current interns. So your actions today can shape the path for others tomorrow. And even if you make a mistake, mistakes will happen. Learn from them and then move forward. And so, look, we're here to help you. We have stressed this over and over, and we're going to continue to stress it. Do not hesitate to reach out to your career coach. Okay, we take pride in helping you as our students. All right, so I want to go to something very engaging and interacting, and which is a quiz that I would like for you all to take from kind of like what you've learned so far. So the quiz includes 10 questions. And so we want you to take the quiz and let's see how much you know. Test your knowledge.
All right, the quiz has been launched.
I should see more people taking a quiz. I'm not seeing a lot of people taking the quiz.
The quiz for me cut out after I answered the first question. Could I get it again, please?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's no way for us to get it. Let me see. Let me check on something. Hold on.
Okay, is everyone finished?
We have about 40 responses so far.
Okay.
Let me know when you want to.
I think that's good enough because I think we have how many people we have? Okay, 41. Okay. All right. So let's see. I'm not sure what can they see on their end. Are they able to see the correct answer on their end?
I think I can only see my results, but not like the correct
The
answers.
correct answer.
We
Okay.
can show the correct answers if that's what you want us to do.
Okay, okay. So let's see. Okay, I'll go ahead and just show the correct answers.
I mean, we can do it. Yeah, she can. Yeah, she turned it on.
I turned it on. Okay, okay. So let's see the first one. Your favorite song is playing on the radio. Should you dance around the office with music blasting with your speakers on? No one answered that question. Whew, good. Okay, listen to music with your headphones at a loud volume so others can hear. Now, who said that? All right. So the third one, listen to music with your headphones at a low volume so as not to disturb anyone nearby. So that is the correct answer. You don't want to disturb anyone. All right. Number 2, unlike social etiquette, office and business etiquette are primarily based on what? And so the answer here is A and C. No one answered A and C. Okay, everybody had B and C. All right, number 3, it is casual Friday, but you have a meeting with a client. How should you dress that day? And the answer is business casual. All right. Does it show the percentages of other people as well, or it just shows what you all have and the correct answer?
It just shows right from wrong.
So it doesn't show like how many people, like for number 3, like casually, it doesn't give the percentage.
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. Okay. As you can tell, this is my first time doing this quiz, so that's why I'm asking. So thank you for answering. Okay, number 4. You invite an out-of-town client to dinner to discuss work. You should what? Everybody got that one correct. All right. Okay, good job, y'all. Ask for their preference and pick an appropriate restaurant. Number 5, your office culture allows you to keep personal items on your desk and in your cubicle. So that answer was B, balance personal and office items in your cubicle. 1 in 5 objects on your desk can be personal. Okay, number 6, your friend from college joins your company in a superior role to you. How should you interact with her in the office? Her or him, because they just said her, so we could say him too. And it is treat him or her like a superior in the office and a friend outside. This is a good question. And 95% of you answered this one correctly because, again, sometimes you may end up working with a friend. You have to know how to draw that line, what's personal versus professional. Number 7, where should friends and family wait when visiting you at work? 97% of you got that correctly. In the waiting area, break room or cafeteria. Number 8, which of the following is not good etiquette, good email etiquette? 95% of you answered that correct. All right, don't send no YouTube videos and personal emails. Number 9, your boss shows up late to a meeting that is about to conclude. You should. So this was a little tricky here. So 43% of you chose the first one. Thank her for stopping by politely, interrupt the person speaking at the meeting and debrief the boss. And 54% of you said slightly nod when she enters and continue with the meeting. So the correct answer is the first one. Thank her for stopping by. I kind of thought it was the second one myself, so this was a little trick question because it's like, what should you do? Should you stop the meeting and debrief the boss or what? But the answer is A. Last but not least, should you connect with your boss on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? The answer is no. Keep it professional. All right. Well, thank you all for that. I appreciate you all participating. Are there any questions? I'm going to open up the floor. I think the last thing I had left was a resource, and that will be given to you about the do's and the don'ts. But other than that, are there any questions? I will now open up the floor to Q&A.
I have a question.
I think I see a hand up first, Maya first, and then I will get to the next person.
And I think we still had 2 from the chat earlier too.
Oh, that's right. We have to answer those questions. Okay. Go ahead, Maya. I'm sorry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samaya. I just kind of had a comment because, we kind of discussed, when companies host happy hours. I do think it's strange that supervisors are allowed to host company happy hours, but we're not allowed to add them on social media. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't know. Like, what if you're friends with your supervisor and y'all are friends on social media? And then, it kind of leads back to the question that's on the quiz, like treating them as a friend outside of work, but then they're your supervisor. So you talk to them like they're your supervisor. I don't know.
So were they your friend first and then they became your supervisor? Or they your supervisor first and then became your friend?
Well, I was just saying in general, because I know we had a question like on the quiz that said, you treat them as a friend outside of work if they're your friend. But I didn't really think about whether they were my friend first or my supervisor first.
So so with the question, it's just saying like all of a sudden if your friend is hired on as your manager, how would you treat them? Again, you want to separate the business from personal, because just think if everybody in the office know the child friends, they gonna think, oh, it's favoritism. That's her friend. So she gonna give her, anything she asks for. So you want to make sure that, first of all, I wouldn't even tell others that's my friend. I'll just make it like, because it can get a little messy in the workplace. But of course, respect your friend in their position, as your manager or whatever. But as far as going out with them afterwards, like if y'all were already friends, then yes, y'all can go hang out afterwards, just you two as friends, because you're in friendship mode at that point, But other than that, like I say, you got to know how to draw the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody else? Y'all can chime in. Other coaches, they may have a different opinion.
I would say be careful, period. Once that relationship moves from just friends outside of work to now that's your boss, even with the hanging out, because again, you don't want anything to get mistaken, or any conversations to start up about, oh yeah, I saw them hanging out, da, da, da. That's why she got such and such, because the gossip will still come. You could be doing the best job there is. Nobody could be beating you. But if they determine that that is your friend and y'all got a different relationship, a lot of times they're going to jump to the assumption, or not even jump to the assumption. They're going to want to spread a negative connotation around that situation, around that relationship. So just be, cognizant of you probably, if it's found out that that's your friend, now you got to work 10 times harder, even though you were already working hard. Now you got to just prove yourself even that much more, so that people don't decide, oh, they're getting special favors or they're getting this because that's their friend versus doing that work. I've worked for my mom before, and my son has also worked for me. Had to work 5 times harder because I wasn't playing. I needed them to understand he might be my son, But no, he doesn't get a pass. Matter of fact, he's got to work harder to get the same dollars that you're getting, because I did not want people to think that way. You know, nepotism is real, and people get real upset about nepotism. So.
All right. I want to go back to those two questions in the chat first, because I definitely don't want to forget those individuals, and then I will address everyone that has their hand up. So I'm trying to find those questions myself.
One was from Miss Edwards. You got them, Lynn? It's
Yeah,
Miss
I have
Edwards. Okay.
So there's I didn't copy and paste the name, so forgive me, but the one question was, could the same office decorum strategies be used in the setting of having a patient/customer field?
Oh yeah. I mean, workplace decorum is I don't care what work environment you're in. I mean, again, it's expected for you to act a certain way, to dress a certain way, how to conduct yourself. So yes, and especially when you're dealing with patients, I mean, you want to be just as kind to the patients as you are with your coworkers. So
Okay. The second one is, people remember your actions and how you treat other people. Oh, that's a comment. And then another one was, I guess this was like sharing. During an etiquette class, I learned you drink your first drink, but you babysit, in quotes, the second. There is no third.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that was.
I mean, if you're gonna have alcohol, for those of y'all that's over 21, yeah.
Number one.
If you're gonna have alcohol, I mean, some people have a glass of wine and they just sip it all, the way through or whatever. I'm not saying don't drink it all, but if you gotta have a drink, I would say just have one and done. Ain't no need to get in 2, 3, and 4. I'm serious, because people are watching.
I would
And
nurse
that's when
the
they
first drink
really
either.
watch you, is when you're drinking and how you're behaving. And I don't care if the music is flowing and where them fans at and all that other stuff. I mean, it's okay to have fun and dance or whatever, but you have to know how to conduct yourself. Again, people talk. And not only that, but people know other people from other organizations and companies, so people talk. If somebody's hiring at another company and they say, well, we got somebody from Prairie View, then you have an experience with somebody at Prairie View, and there you go. So just be mindful.
And those are all the questions, but there are a couple of hands up. Can you see those hands? Tochi, Tochi, please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. And then Joy's iPhone.
Yeah, Tochi here. It's all good. And my question was regarding that one question from the quiz about, oh my goodness, not me forgetting the question. Hold on, I'm gonna go back. It was one where 50% of the people got it, half and half. And I can't even see the quiz.
That was the one with if the boss walks in, should you
Yes,
interrupt the meeting?
I was kind of,
And
yeah,
Tochi, you're breaking up.
I was kind of asking if you could elaborate on why that was the correct answer. That way I could just better understand now. Is it better now?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So my question was better because I was one of the people who picked just acknowledged that the boss walked in and then continue on with the meeting. So if y'all could elaborate on why the correct answer is to debrief the boss before continuing.
It is a trick question, don't get me wrong. I would say, honestly, the reason why A was selected is because that's your boss. So you definitely want to debrief them in what's going on. But maybe like within no more than 2 minutes or so, and then kind of keep on going. But really, that's the one. I would think that's why that one is correct, because when I did the quiz myself, and I got that one wrong too, because I thought it was the second one, because you don't want to interrupt the flow of the meeting. But when I thought about it, I said, well, they are the boss. So your boss walk in, you want to kind of interrupt just a little bit, kind of catch them up with what's going on. Like I say, no more than 2 minutes, and then continue on with the meeting. So they'll know. But
Yeah, I mean, it's a respect, it's a courtesy, and you want to make sure the boss understands where you are. You don't want them sitting there confused. in your meeting. So, yeah. I mean, B wasn't necessarily wrong. It just wasn't the best answer. You know, and it also kind of maybe even depends on your boss. If they are, I'm just tipping in, I'm not trying to be a part of anything. I want to just hear the conversation. Maybe they wanting to see how you lead a meeting. You know, it's a different thing. But if they were supposed to be a true part of the meeting, you know, and sometimes even when you stop the meeting to introduce your boss and you kind of get into, I'm just here, they'll say, hey, I'm just here to just see what's going on, you know, carry on. Then you carry on. So a lot of it is gonna be kind of with the flow of how the boss comes in and what they do. But basically it's a courtesy and respect thing.
You have Asada. Great question. Thank you, Toshi. Asada.
Hi. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, like, again, with the friends in the workplace, I know, like, keep it discreet or whatever, because, like, stuff like that. But, I mean, regarding to what you said, but how long should it take you to make a friend at the workplace? Like, and I don't mean like a work friend. Say like you get to your new job and like you and this person click and yeah, y'all are work buddies, but say you want to like bring them into your personal life more, like how long should you give like for that? Just so it doesn't like end up interfering with like your job and stuff.
I would say just be careful with that. Because sometimes in the workplace, you may hit it off with a coworker like, bam, like, ooh, that's my girl, like we about to hang. But it's like, wait a minute, this is a coworker too. So you really want to be careful with that because sometimes if y'all hanging out and kicking it and everything going good, and then all of a sudden y'all may disagree about something, it's gonna be a little weird in the workplace. You know, so I don't think it's a time frame to it. I just say be mindful of it because honestly, you don't go to work to make friends. I'm gonna just keep it real. You don't. Now, if you end up having a friend, there are some places I work. I do have friends from places where I have worked. But by the time I allowed that to happen, that took years, and that's just me. I don't let anybody in my circle. I'm real particular about who I allow in my circle. So it's not a time frame on it, but I just say be mindful of it because you don't want to get to the point where, like I say, you guys are hanging out, everything's good, then a disagreement may happen. It could happen at work, something that you all may disagree about, and then it's going to cause that friction. So that's just my opinion. So these are just suggestions, you know, that we're giving from our experiences. But like I say, if the other coaches want to chime in, they're welcome to chime in and share, you know, give their opinion, share their thoughts on it, you know.
I don't want to prolong, but just a quick thought. You just, the biggest thing, as Dr. Figgins said, is you just have to be careful and be aware. Just keeping in mind, if it's not something that you want broadcasted, then you probably don't need to allow yourself to get that comfortable with people at work. Because I tell you, I have seen fallout from friends at work, and it is not pretty. All of the business from each side is slung everywhere. So yeah, Lynn looks like me, Miss George looks like she got something she needs to say.
No, y'all have said a mouthful. I could talk a lot about this, so I will, yeah, defer to the comments that have already been made. They're good.
And then you don't want it to lead to gossiping, right? You know, y'all cool 1 minute, y'all have a disagreement, that go to gossip. So I don't know. Like I say, just be mindful of who you allow into your circle.
Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate the feedback.
You're welcome. All right, anybody else? Well,
let's see. There's someone had their hand. That was Toshi, I think Asada, and then
I think it was Joy's iPhone had, yeah. Did she leave?
No, wait. I had just changed my name because I joined on my phone.
oh, okay, you changed your name. Okay. Let me ask this. Are there any comments? Do you think this is a good topic? Is this something that is relatable in what you guys are experiencing right now? I mean, this is the feedback that we want to hear from you. Of course, you're gonna complete the follow-up survey and answer those questions, but I'm saying just as of this moment, do you think this is beneficial for you and it's helping you in the workplace?
Yeah, excuse me. I would say yeah. Um, I feel like it's just a good I mean a lot most of this stuff I already know, already been going over, been taught, kind of raised in that. But it's a good reiteration of it, and just to keep in mind because I just graduated, and I know stepping out into the workforce sometimes it's easy to forget when you getting comfortable and meeting new people and making friends or not even making friends but just building connections. So yeah, um, yeah. So thank y'all.
Well, thank
Any of
you.
you
Thank you for the
experienced
feedback.
anything in the work regard?
I didn't hear you, Ms. Jones. Repeat that again.
I was asking, had anybody experienced anything in their workplace? When it comes to decorum, something you've seen others do, people, trying to buddy up with you, any of those things?
Yes, I
Yeah.
would like to share my first work experience when I was 17. I worked at Foot Locker and it was my first job. And I remember my manager that came on would always gossip to me. And it was so weird because he was my manager. He would gossip to me about my assistant manager and how he didn't like the way she worked and everything, and just certain things she did that were pretty inappropriate. And
Mhm.
so one evening he spoke to me about her being terminated and that she wasn't gonna no longer be with the company. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. But it was because of something she did that was inappropriate. So when I saw her the next week and she was there, I accidentally just was like, oh my God, like you're here. And she was like, why wouldn't I be? And I'm like, I thought you were fired. And she was like, what? Like, who told you? And I told her, well, our manager like had told me that you were supposed to be gone because of X, Y, and Z. And she got really upset. She wasn't upset with me. She made it clear that she wasn't upset with me, but she was upset that he shouldn't have spoke about what she did with me. And I learned the hard way because my manager then distanced himself from me and then tried to set me up to get fired.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, you will see that sometimes managers, look, not every manager is a good manager. I have worked with some horrible managers. I don't know if y'all can recall that movie Horrible Bosses. If y'all watch that, I laugh so hard because like corporate America, yes. I call, and I'm not trying to scare y'all with corporate America. It's a good place to work. Now, don't get me wrong, good experience and all that, but I feel like it can get a little cutthroat sometimes, how people really behave. And especially with managers, you look at a manager like they are a leader, they are the role model. And sadly, not all of them are. So yeah, and then there's going to be some wonderful managers that you work with, that you're going to really enjoy to work with. Try to learn from those people. Try to have them to mentor you. Even if
Mhm.
you want to step into leadership, allow that to be your guide, but not the horrible managers. There's some horrible managers out there. Thank you for sharing.
I
Matthew.
think Matthew. Yeah.
I have a question, kind of like a follow-up question after that. How would you handle a situation like that professionally when like a higher up or a manager's like trying to fire you and retaliation?
If they're trying to fire you,
Yeah, like
Retaliation.
yeah, in retaliation.
ooh, I would say document.
Document.
Document everything that they're doing for your personal records. And this is when you may have to go into HR. I try to tell people, try to learn your rights in HR, try to learn about HR laws, because a lot of people, they think they can take advantage of you all because you're young and they feel like you all don't know anything, right? So they try to take advantage. And so that's going to be the topic on next week about those. I think microaggressions is next week, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
now I would love for you, please, next week. That's a great topic. So, but I would just say, just start documenting.
Yeah. I think it's important, even in the conversations that they're sharing that you know are inappropriate conversations, document, time, date, where you were standing, who was around you, whatever you can put so that they will know you didn't just come and make this up. These are things that can be seen, especially when you know they can turn around and now say, "Oh no, Matthew came up to me and was saying so and so, so and so." Especially if somebody overhears it and they maybe go tell the person that's in the middle of this conversation, or like in the case of Aaliyah, where you know she let it slip because she didn't know. I mean, this is something coming from a supervisor or a leader that she expected would be telling the truth. Number one, and you know, now for him to come back and try to retaliate again, documenting every time they come tell you something, documenting. You know, me personally, as when I was navigating the younger space, as a younger person in the workspace, I would always just try, oh, okay, you know what? I need to go. I'm not trying to be, I do what I want to be the person you telling these things to. I didn't want to hear it, you know, so I would always figure out I'm gonna go over here, go clean over there, go stock this place, wherever I needed to go, so that I'm not in the space where you're trying to tell me these things that now put me in the middle of a situation I don't want to be in. Because that's what you end up being, is in the middle of this situation. Because if somebody else had overheard that conversation he was having with Aaliyah and gone and told the manager, now Aaliyah's getting pulled in along with this assistant manager, and it could have gone differently for her.
I just want to interject and say that we've come to the end of our session. Please remain if you want to continue this conversation. We are happy to stay on and support you in whatever way we can in regards to this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
right,
you
you're
all.
welcome to
It was
stay.
amazing. Wishing everyone a wonderful evening. I actually have another meeting to jump onto. So I look forward to seeing everyone next week. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew, did they help you out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, the one thing I think I preach to everybody I talk to is documentation beats conversation 100% of the time. So whenever you are put in a situation where it makes you feel uncomfortable to even just hear the information, even if all you're doing is documenting it for yourself, document it and email it to yourself, just so you have, you know, what went on. And again, making sure you're able to identify things happening in the space, in the area, the time, you know, whatever's going on, you know, especially if it's a place with got cameras, where was the camera pointing at, whatever the case may be. Because, you know, if you get pulled into it, you want to be able to clearly identify where your space was in that, what your place was in that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Where you interning, Matthew?
I'm actually working at the Amazon corporate offices in the domain in Austin.
Okay. Okay. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Okay. What as your major?
Community development.
Oh, okay. 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 Good. So you're doing a master's program?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
is that okay? All right. I was gonna say that's the master's part of architecture, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Nice.
Thank you. I shall see y'all back on next week. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a good one.
I
Mhm.
do have a question about the documentation things. For
Mhm.
me, whenever I heard of documentation, my mind kind of goes to if I were to have an in-person conversation with somebody, I would follow up with an email kind of like highlighting what the conversation was over. And that's what I was thinking about documentation. But my question is like in instances where there's like disagreements or like things like that, I believe her name was Aaliyah, what she was talking about with her manager,
Mhm.
you know, had told her something. In instances where there's like friction between two people, how would you go about documenting that? Because I couldn't really email somebody who's like, I'm having a disagreement with, saying, hey, we disagreed on this, that, and the third. I would kind of, so how would I go about documenting it to where it's still like valid documentation?
So your documentation in that situation is more so to recount what happened. Right. And that's why I say be very particular about everything in the space. We were standing here, there was a customer over there, or John was sitting at his desk two desks over, just, it was at this exact time, this exact date, you know what I'm saying? You just have very specific details about surrounding the incident where this conversation is going on. So it's not so much as you're trying to send it to somebody for proof. You just want to be able to show that you were very intentional about recording what went on because it made you feel uncomfortable. It was information that you didn't want to have. And so just in case you get drawn into something now, because again, they could come and say, yeah, I had a conversation with Coachy and she was in agreement. That's not what happened, that kind of thing. Because you got this outline so well, because the more detailed you can get, the more they'll and you can actually cite things that would make sense for that date and time of when it happened, then your documentation looks much better than him just saying what went on, or the person just saying this is what happened. You took the time to actually document, the time. I felt very uncomfortable with this, and the fact that you email it to yourself, then now that time stamps it.
Okay.
Right? I felt uncomfortable in this situation. This is what occurred. This is what was going on around us. This is how long that conversation took. This is the date and the time, all of those things, and then email it. Now you got a timestamp. So I said this to myself on this date because this is how this made me feel. So if you have to go to HR, like Dr. Figgins said, now you've got a trail of, these were the things that went on for this, this amount of time. And now it's to a point where I'm just not comfortable even just being, in this space anymore. I think Ms. George and both Dr. Figgins worked in HR somewhat, so they might have a little bit more from that perspective of how HR would use something like that, maybe.
Yeah, the documentation is more so for you. It's for your records in case something happens. That's why I try to tell people, try to learn, like take an HR class or something, or try to YouTube some things about HR to learn. And of course, it varies from state to state, Texas or what have you. But it's something that you just may want to be aware of, because sometimes, unfortunately, these incidents do happen where you may be placed in a situation. I know there was one time where a manager gave me so much craziness. I had like 2 years of documentation on her. And so I went through HR. HR didn't help me, and I had to take it a step higher, the EEOC, but that's another story. So in order for my voice to be heard, so yeah, you have to document. And is it time consuming? Yes. You get tired of documenting because you have your work to do. You have personal life. You're going through this stress or whatever, what's going on, but you have to take the time and document. I hope you all never experience that, but if you do, you just have to know what to do. And like Ms. Jones was saying, document everything. You're painting that story to the reader of what happened. So
I kind of do have a follow-up question that's kind of in two parts, but for the people who did say they had like an HR perspective because they worked in HR, could you like kind of give an example of a situation and like specifically like what kind of documentation they provided that was helpful in aiding them in whatever issue they had? Because I understand that you say like document it personally and send yourself that email, but I kind of just want to see an example of how that would be like utilized in real life. And then the second part of that question is kind of informally, this is just something I do because I like to rant, but I don't like to rant to people. So sometimes when things will happen to me, I have like video diaries. And so like for the past 5 years, I have video diaries of things that happened to me when I was 5, right? And if something were to occur and like I had a situation pop up and I'm in an HR issue and I had a video diary from the night after the incident of me like talking to, obviously I'm not talking to anybody, but I'm just retelling the incident, would that serve as proof or like documentation for the situation, or would that just be like kind of hearsay?
I'll let Miss George take that, because I mean you can, I guess, because we Generation X over here, so we write stuff down. You was like videoing since 5. I was like, oh my God, I forgot
No,
you
because I
much
just be
younger than me.
ranting like
But
I would
yeah, that should serve as, documentation, because you're sharing what happened. But I'll let Miss George answer that question.
So going off of what Dr. Figgins and Ms. Jones said, using so document, right? Using Word document, a Google Doc, just who, what, when, where, how, when, how, what. Make sure you have all those details, just as Miss Michelle described. Now, I'll give you an example of when that comes into play. But let me go back. So when you are documenting the details, make sure, just as Coach, Miss Jones shared, you have all these details. You're going to write them out. Now there's ways that you can, create a transcript from your video to, like, if you are doing a video diary and it's a video diary of your documentation, you can even use notes. There's ways to get all of those notes without you actually writing them, right? And then you copy and paste that into a Word document or Google Doc or notes, right? And that begins your way of tracking your documentation. The other things you want to document is, emails. Make sure you have emails that's been sent, communications that's been sent to you regarding the situation. Because when it comes to, and I've only been in like employer or employee investigations, so internally, right? Not on the EEOC side, but internally inside of corporate. That comes, so when you are, submitting a complaint, for example, HR will use that information to begin to investigate what that, the complaint, right? The details, so the details truly matters. And so the investigation will include stuff like, just depending on what the complaint is, it may involve the rest of the team or a department, right? They begin to ask questions. Okay, well, we've gotten, and it's not so much of we gotten, but here's some challenges that have come up. I want to know what your thoughts are on this. What they're doing is fishing, trying to get information. They're doing an informal investigation. So your documentation truly matters, but it's all about the details.
Right.
Did that help, Toshi?
I guess I kind of understood.
Tell me what you know. We want you to be clear.
Like, I understand that I need to have the documentation, and probably just for formal purposes, it should be written down. Obviously, I know my video diaries are very informal. Like, genuinely, those are just me ranting. But I was kind of like, if a situation were to occur and I didn't document it and I had a video diary, I don't know if that would serve as sufficient like proof of whatever happened actually did happen, because this is me talking about it the same day that it happened, not 2 months later when there's actually an investigation going on. Because it's you know what I mean. But I also understand that I need to have it written down formally for just protection purposes, because some people won't take that as valid because they're like, you're literally talking to yourself.
No, and that's valid. So that's why, we mentioned about, is there anything else that can back up what your document,
Grant,
right? So it's not just your words, but here are meetings. In this meeting, this was said. I received this email, or I received this treatment, right? So it's not just your word, because if it's escalated, let's say it's escalated to external person coming in. We're not even at EEOC yet, depending on the situation. If it's escalated where an external person has to come in, they're going to ask for documentation, and it has to be more than just your words. So yes, it needs to be, the who, what, when, where, how, and here's some backup, right? Here's some other things that go along with this that I'm attaching to this documentation. Does that make sense?
I need to have more accounts than just my own, essentially.
Right. And I mean, and obviously even in writing, it's your account, but a rant, a video of you just, letting the steam off about the situation, that is more to serve you to release the angst that came from it. But then to take the time to get the details around it, because, you heard the saying, the devil is in the details. When there are things going on that shouldn't be going on, those details are what's going to help to push your push your need across or to get you the satisfaction out of the situation that you need. And so the rant serves that purpose to release, relax, relate, release. But the actual details that you write out is what is going to support everything that you're saying. So, and it's not that they won't take your rant, it's just they like Miss George said, they're gonna look for what else do you have, but you just being upset.
Mm-hmm.
And not that that is something to dismiss, it's just not something that they can move forward and take action, disciplinary action of any type against someone.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah. And that becomes important. What's in it? That's what I've learned is that what's in it that they can take, they meaning whoever the, powers
Investigative powers.
what they can take action on. And that's really what it boils down to in HR.
Mhm.
Are there any violations? And if there are there any risks? What are the risks? And what do we need to take action on?
And what's going to support that
What's going to
action?
support that action? Yep. Yeah.
Because they have to protect the entity, which is the company, because
That's
the people involved are the employees, but there's a whole company behind us as an employee. And so they have to make sure they don't put the company in the position of error that could cost money, that could cost, the loss of something. So, good conversation. Anything else?
Any other questions on workplace decorum or let's see.
And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of do have another question about a situation that happened to be today at work. But yeah, I know y'all touched on not talking about anything political at work, and like given that the political climate today is kind of like, everywhere. My manager, he had asked me, he was like, "Oh, so what do you think about what's going on?" And obviously, this is not my first time hearing about, "Oh, don't talk about politics at work." So my response is, "Oh, what are you talking about?" So I'm just like, maybe he's just talking about something that happened at work, like somebody tripped, right? And then he's like, the stuff with Iran and da 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 da. And I kind of wanted to like, how do I go about answering those types of questions without involving my like getting myself in shaky waters? For me, what I said, I just started. I didn't take the conversation too seriously, so I was like, oh, I just be joking with my siblings about how, we have to live life today for the best of our capabilities because we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. And I just left it at that. And he laughed and it was all cool. And I was like, I don't know if that was an appropriate answer, if that was like still too much, or like I kind of want to know how to go about those situations if they do arise without offending anybody. Because it was my manager. So like if it was a regular coworker, I could have just been like, I'm not talking about that. But it was my manager, so I
Right.
kind of had to still,
Right.
be very respectful about it and like, you know what I mean? Not come off as rude.
Right.
So like,
Right.
how do I
Right.
go about doing that? And did I go about doing it? Like, did I go about it correctly?
I mean, I think that was fine to answer. You just you blew it off as you made it out of a joke, and all I can do is just live my best life every day, and that's true. That's all we can do. It doesn't change what they're doing out there. Is not going to change anything for me, other than I just got to live the best life I can live with what's happening. And so, yeah, I don't know. It could have been a test.
Yup.
That's what I'm thinking too.
That's what it sounds like.
My response was I was like, oh, whenever my brothers are fighting about pizza yesterday, and so I told them, hey guys, like don't fight because you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. And then I laughed and he laughed, and then that's where I just ended it because I didn't want to actually talk about the subject. And I was like, I don't know if that was still too much because then still you could interpret that as, oh, we're gonna die tomorrow, which is technically what it could have been. But at the same time, I was trying to be very lighthearted without
Right.
being political.
Yeah.
I think your response was valid. I think with what's going on, it could be twofold. It could be to test you, or it could be maybe he just wanted to really talk about it because people are nervous about what's actually going on. But in the workplace, I think you did the right thing.
Yep.
The only thing you could say, look, I just hope for the best. You can't say you will pray about it because you can't talk about religion. So the only thing you could just say, I'm just wishing for the best or just something positive and just move on. Because like I say, you don't want to get into that. Politics.
Yeah, that's why I had sirens going off in my head when he said that. I was like, I'm so sorry. Not me.
You're not catching me.
You're not catching me. I'm so sorry.
I am not the
Yeah.
one. Not today.
I'm so sorry.
Good job on that one.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't like misinterpret my own response, I guess.
No, you're fine. Don't overthink it. I think you kind of overthink things. I'm sensing. Yeah. No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Alrighty. That's all my questions. Thank y'all.
You're welcome. All right.
Anybody else?
Did it?
I want to address that Maya had a question. I addressed it in the chat. Maya, Ms. Jones, just to reiterate, Ms. Jones will be in touch with you on who your coach is to review your curriculum vitae.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank
well,
you.
if there are no other questions or comments, we thank you all for hanging out with us for these extra 23 minutes. And we hope you all have a lovely evening. And we are here for you if you have any other questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
All right.
Okay.
You want to stop the recording?